Hi, this is Maya from the Worldwide Good News, and I have Mike T. Lee here with me. He's an amazing designer, owner of Focus 97, but actually he's here to tell us a little bit about another project he's really involved with. How are you doing?
I'm good.
So you came back from Ecuador last Tuesday, right?
Late Wednesday.
Late Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
21 hours of travel that day.
Wow. So let's just say in one word, why were you there? And then we'll start with a little bit of history.
One sentence maybe, free orthopedic surgery. That was the goal of being there.
Yeah. And free orthopedic surgery for whom?
For, in this case, South Americans in Ecuador.
Oh.
Sometimes it's Central Americans.
Yeah. And this is under the project Operation Rainbow, right?
Yeah.
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 So let's rewind. So you have a wonderful and amazing design company called Focus 97. And it started in 97 because that's when you focused, right?
The things that cascaded to its starting happened in 97. It actually didn't start until 2006. So there was a 9-year gap where I circuitously went around and figured out what the heck it was that made me tick. And that's what got me into doing design, starting in 2006. But 97 was the series of, the start of a series of events that led up to it.
Yeah, and was there any one event that started the cascading that happened to be 97?
Yeah, actually, this is sort of almost embarrassing because it's fairly revealing, but I was never academically focused, and I landed on academic probation at a community college, and so I was going to get kicked out of a school where you don't actually apply, you just enroll in classes. And so I got my head together and focused. I got a major, started a full-time job, and landed on the Dean's Honor List, the first time ever, and I was addicted to learning and accomplishment. And that was the thing that sort of got me into being quote-unquote focused, and that later led to photography, so focus seemed like a good double meaning word to use in the name, and 97 was when it happened. Wow,
that's really great. So actually that led you to photography, even though you did some you did some research in DNA, you learned biology. So it's really interesting, this whole world of you leading you to what you're doing these days beyond Focus 97, right?
Well, I started doing design work, and I was doing a lot of web design work specifically, and in addition I was also doing photography work, and someone from Operation Rainbow found my work, found out what I did, we got to talking, and I thought this would be an immensely rewarding opportunity to go take my photography passion and combine it with medicine, to combine it with medicine in an area where they really need it, in the third world, or the developing world, I should say. And so I went on my first trip and I was hooked.
Yeah. And when was that? That was 2000?
2008 in October.
Okay.
That was to Cuenca, Ecuador, which is where we just came back from.
Great. And so you were also pre-med. So it's actually, there's all these connections, your photography, your pre-med, and all that came into fruition in this project in the end, like your knowledge of the medical world, the knowledge of doctors, and your knowledge of photography has actually helped you in your work and your actual service, because this is something you do pro bono for this organization, right? I think it's all come. Yeah, I do think it's all come together. I mean, just liking medicine or having a passion for medicine doesn't mean that much. My passion for medicine stemmed from wanting to connect with people, especially when they really need it, and so that's my focus in college, was to get a biology degree, and I was a pre-med, and the photography part completely being separate, I got to combine both of them on these kinds of trips. You get to connect with people in an area where, or in a time of their life when they're not really wanting to be connected with a gigantic, obnoxious looking camera. You know, so there's a little bit of a, I suppose I would say combining photography and medicine, but really it's combining a passion for capturing people with the desire to actually help the people that you're capturing. Yeah. And in that sense, you have to establish a quick rapport with somebody. And without knowing any language, without sort of overcoming the language barrier, you can very quickly establish a rapport with somebody just with like a smile and raising your camera. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. So tell us even more about Operation Rainbow from what you know. I mean, it started about 30 years ago? 33. Wow. 33 years ago. It originally started as a plastic surgery group, and the goal was to go over and do plastic reconstructive surgery in the developing world. And later on, for about the last, I don't want to get numbers wrong, but around 18 or so years ago, they started doing orthopedic surgery. And it's not
for the viewers out there who might think orthopedic surgery relates to, say, sports injuries, that's true mostly here in the United States with athletes, but orthopedic has to do with moving your joints around and the ability to walk. Club feet, you know, your feet turn in and your kids are unable to walk as a result down the road. That's orthopedic. And so orthopedic surgeries are an attempt to correct things that people are born with so that they can live a normal life.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And these doctors from all around the world, right? It's not, is it only US or is it around the world?
Around the world.
Just get on a plane, they pay their own airfare, they actually pay to be there, and they give up their time, right?
Well, yeah, that's what's inspiring. That's why I got so hooked the first trip, because you're there with people who not only paid their airfare and their hotel, but they're also paying for their vacation time to be there. So it's not as if it's not vacation.
Yeah, they're working full time.
We spend 14 hours a day sometimes in the hospital.
That's unbelievable. I mean, that is just such a service to the world. And we're not talking about we're talking about all levels of doctors and nurses. We're talking about some world-renowned doctors going out there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's very cool to be in a room learning from some people who are extremely well respected within their niche. Hand surgery, pediatric orthopedic surgery, trauma surgeons. But those are just the surgeons. There are terrific pediatricians that come along the trip. Internal medicine physicians. There are very well-known and terrific anesthesiologists that come. And the nurses are amazing. The nurses they're the people who see the patients before and after, and they're there in the operating room as well. They're all inspiring because they're all, besides competent, they're all compassionate. And
that's the biggest thing here is actually compassion. Having such level of compassion to drop everything of your life to give it to some strangers in a strange world, in a strange place on earth, out of your love for humanity. This is something you don't see every day, and you've done the same, because not everybody's a doctor, and it's okay. You gave your gift also for them to actually be seen in the world. I mean, your gift is photography and some video. So you've been going there every year since 2008, documenting it. You also did their website, which is actually beautiful, really, really great work. And that is your gift to them and to the people that they're helping. So how, you said that basically it was a happenstance. It just happened that you were called to do this, and you said, yes, I would love to. And
pretty enthusiastically,
yeah. Tell us a little bit about your experiences since then.
Well, I mean, having recently come back from a trip,
yeah,
every year I seem to fall in love with some patient. And this last trip kind of exemplifies all of the trips in the sense that they're all different, but they're all the same in the sense that you come away moved. You come away, even in my case, I love San Francisco and I love the life I have here, but you come away feeling as though you want to be back there. The reintegration is not easy. And that's because on every trip, you're working with people who are really dedicated. They're hardworking at what they do, but they're inspiring because they're doing it for free, or like I said, they have to pay for it. You end up connecting with these patients, even despite the language barriers. You start connecting with these patients who are really, really in need. And I know that there are groups in the United States that have needs. There are minority groups that are underserved with respect to, say, medicine. And I'm not discounting any of that, because I know that that exists. My own, I'm half Latino, and my own group is always underserved, at least in California. But over there, it's different. The degree to which people are underserved is different. And they're so appreciative. Those people, sometimes, I would say, have little with respect to what I'm used to having here, but they don't seem unhappy. And even in the face of, like, terrible ailments where they can't walk or have trouble speaking, they're still not terribly unhappy people. They're pretty happy people. And when we go there as a group and do the kinds of things that we do as a team, there's no singular person who's like the hero of the mission. It's all a concerted effort, and everybody works together. And those people share their enthusiasm or their appreciation as a result. You feel like a king. And that's how each trip has gone. In this last trip, there's a particular person that I blogged about, this little boy Roberto, who, like, I said that in the blog, he wins people's hearts. I mean, the guy just eats at you and makes you want care about him. And that's the way that all of these patients are.
Yeah.
You see the look of hope on their faces. You see, you see that they're really yearning for their kid or their sister or mother or something to be fixed. And when you can go there and do it, you come away feeling like, I don't care that I had to pay. I don't care what stresses are back home. Like, my perspective check was to come here and do something definitely good for people that I may never meet again. And that's what this trip was like, this last trip, coming back Wednesday. So
tell us a little bit about Roberto, because like that face is just so melting, even just from that one image, and you know, whatever video that you were going to show of him, also you're going to show it in the gala dinner. So he had his left arm was cut, right?
Yeah, he was, I don't know how much the viewers are familiar with the idea that, like, it just seems as though in the developing world, machetes are ubiquitous. They're all over the place. And he and a friend were playing with machetes, and he's 5 years old, mind you, so he's not as if this is like a fun activity, you know, playing catch or something. They were playing with machetes, and he was going to block a blow, and the machete hit him right in the back of the wrist. And all of the tendons that allow you to raise your hand up or your wrist up, or your fingers up, were severed. So all 6 of them were gone, and some retracted this way and some went that way. And that's it. There isn't any surgery that they could have done, they didn't do down there, I should say.
Yeah.
And so he was left with an inoperable hand. He can still squeeze, but, you know, his ability to contribute to a family when he gets older is really hurt, because he's not going to be able to do the same things that somebody with a normally functioning hand can do. And so it turned out on our trip that we had a very good, very, very good hand surgeon on the trip who looked at it and thought, of course we can fix that. I mean, that's just it's a very different mentality. Down there, there's little resources and sometimes little skill set to be able to do those kinds of things. But little Roberto was lucky. There was someone on our trip, plus a whole team of people to support that particular surgeon's task to get it done. And so 3.5 hours later, he was fixed. Yeah. There was a little bit of a graft. This tendon had to come from one side of his arm and be transposed over to the other side, but he's going to be able to contribute to society later.
Little Roberto now has a chance of a better life, and in the third world, anything like that can really hamper your chances of a good future. So you know, I know that now the numbers are staggering of how many people Operation Rainbow has helped, like 20,000 people.
Wow.
Something like that?
50,000 or so.
50,000.
That's no joke either. There's an estimate that actually I don't want to mess up the estimate. I believe there was something around, estimates around the idea that we've potentially, we as this group over 33 years, have helped to the tune of $70 million worth of medical care delivered for around $5 million.
Wow.
So this is, you know, you can't deliver $70 million and help 50,000 people for essentially $5 million worth of donated stuff without having a lot of people contribute their time for free.
The impact of such service to 50,000 people in the third world is not only impacting that individual's life mentally and physically, it affects his whole community, his family. So you have, you know, in a way, Operation Rainbow has affected 50,000 communities. And that is not a small feat. The change, the positive mental change in a community, you can't even measure it probably. Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose it's sort of like measuring hard costs versus soft costs, and in this case, this would be like a hard benefit. The soft benefits, I don't know.
Yeah.
The ripples, it's exactly right. Like the ripples that run through the community, they have to be sort of multifold, because one person's ability, say little Roberto, didn't get his arm fixed, then he grows up having to be sort of a burden on his family. He can't do the kinds of things that he normally would be able to do, and in that case, there's still a little bit of more of the work, more of the laborious work is for the guy to do, and he wouldn't be able to do it. And so that would not only put a burden on his family, but potentially on his community, however big or large that would be.
Yeah, and what just happened gave him hope that people out there who care about him, hope in the world. I mean, just the possibilities of what can happen to a child like that in the third world are endless, and I'm really hoping that this is an unbelievable success story. And I mean, I'm hoping that one day Roberto's going to go and study medicine and do this to other kids. I mean, that will be like the most amazing thing, and probably it has happened over 33 years. Is there any connection with people that were helped years ago?
I think there is. Mm-hmm. I may not know all of those answers. The executive director who's been doing this for a couple decades, I believe, she probably knows some stories like that. Along the lines of Roberto going on later and either learning medicine or perhaps becoming a politician to affect change, because these countries that we go into, while it's great, there are larger issues that need to be remedied in order for things like what he has to not happen.
Yeah.
You know, better resources, better infrastructure, more money, which later down the road potentially would give people a better skill set and more resources to be able to fix him on their own. If he went into legislation as a result, you know, as this sort of renewed sense of life, or I mean, he's 5 years old, so I'm not saying that he's going to have a renewed sense of life as though he was still a happy kid, but if he went down years later and did something with respect to policy, and it's like, that's the kind of thing that you hope happens. If it doesn't, and he ends up being a great dad and he contributes to his community, that's still no small feat. Mm-hmm. That's still an awesome thing, and hopefully, I guess my idealistic idea would be that that he pays it forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, so that he realizes later down the road what he got, and he delivers that to somebody else. So the idea of paying it forward, you know, he gives it away, gives something away for free.
No, that's great. I mean, that's what we're all hoping here for, and that's what you're doing here as well. You're paying it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will continue to do so.
That's awesome. So for the future, what are the next biggest events? I know Operation Rainbow has a big gala, and that's a way for people to actually either contribute or know more about this project. But beyond that, what else is there in the future?
Well, the fundraiser is coming up September 17th, and so anybody who wants to register, for that matter, can go to operationrainbow.org, and the event is sort of blasted there. But down the road, it's not that we're looking to, we as an organization, I don't want to speak necessarily on their behalf, but it's not that they're looking to grow into this immense organization. It's not a Doctors Without Borders. It's not a Operation Smile. Those are very big groups, and that's not what Operation Rainbow is trying to become. What they would like to do is just sustain what they're doing. We've developed relationships in Dominican Republic, in Ecuador, Nicaragua, I mean, all sorts of countries. And those kinds of relationships can't continue unless we keep getting money and supplies to go back into those countries. So to help those people and to continue the relationships with those governmental bodies, it means that we need to keep money coming in. So while some people like to volunteer their time and see what they're actually doing, and perhaps less so just want to give money away, we definitely need money and supplies. Because all of the medical supplies that we take are schlepped over by us. We don't go there and use their supplies. We bring everything. And so we're sort of always needing, besides money, always needing supplies.
Yeah.
So we just want to continue doing the same number of missions, potentially more, I think. And I think this year there'll be a total of 12 missions done to the developing world. And to continue doing that, that's the next big idea. It's not a big idea in some senses, because we're doing it. It's not as if we're trying to continually climb, but it is a big idea in the sense that these trips we might help 40 to 50 people. So 12 trips down the road, there's hundreds of people that can be helped, and that's a pretty big idea to continue doing that.
That is definitely a very powerful idea, to pay it forward as much as you can. And for you, what is the biggest thing you got out of it, and what would be the biggest thing to say to anybody who wants to pay it forward in their own way? Like, where would they start?
It's a good question. I think you have to find something that you resonate with. I resonate with this because I get to go do photography in the developing world, which is where I found, like, my heart goes out to the developing world. That's where I think, probably obviously, that's where the most need in almost anything exists. So doing photography in the developing world with respect to medicine is what resonates with me quite a lot. So I think that if someone's going to go do something for the world or for the community, because there's, where any of us live, there's always a need for something. There are soup kitchens, there are, my parents have just been adopting rescue dogs. So there are kennels, and the kennels sometimes have to put puppies down.
Yeah.
And there are groups that go in and take those puppies that would be put down, and they try to find homes for them. And that's a lot through volunteer activity.
Yes.
So if that resonates with you, go find those kinds of opportunities. The next big thing for me, I don't actually know. Unfortunately, I don't. I definitely, obviously, will want to continue Focus 97. We keep delivering good work product, and whether it's for commercial entities or whether it's for nonprofits like Operation Rainbow, I like working and I like to continue doing that stuff, so it's always good. But I think that I'd like to take more of a role with what I'm doing with Operation Rainbow, and to continue going on at least one trip a year. It's like not necessarily a reality check, but a perspective check. It helps to take some of the stresses that we can easily become overwhelmed with here, and it puts them into check.
Yeah.
And provides a little bit more balance. So I suppose the next big thing is to get myself on another mission next year, and then we'll see.
I wish you really great luck with that, and that's just, it's such an amazing, inspiring thing that you're doing for the world. I mean, really taking yourself out of your comfort zone and going and doing something that's completely selfless, I mean, completely for the world. So I want to really commend you for that.
My pleasure.
So thank you, Mike. This is really, really great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And this was Maya from the Worldwide Good News.